Hi, everybody. My name is Christy, and this is my submission for the intervention assignment, part two. So I have my guest here. For the purpose of the assignment, we're just going to call her Mary. So she is willing to go ahead and help me out and do a role play for the purpose of this assignment. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So first off, have you ever heard of compassion-focused therapy at all?
No, no.
Okay, awesome. So it's also called CFT. It's just easier to say CFT than the long name for it. But so just to give you a little bit of background on what the intervention is, kind of the history of it, that way we can kind of have a clear goal in mind of what our purpose is together for our session. So CFT is a fairly novel intervention compared to many other common interventions. So this treatment wasn't developed until the early 2000s, I want to say about 2004, by a psychologist named Paul Gilbert. And the aim of the treatment is to address shame and self-criticism. And that's based off an evolutionary standpoint as well. Those feelings have been feelings that people have been feeling for thousands of years, but not until recently it became a therapeutic way to kind of deal with mental health problems. So one of the main principles of CFT is that there's three key brain systems that basically manage our emotional state, our emotional well-being. And the first system is our threat system. So this is your fight or flight response. So this is your automatic response. And this is like your anxiety response. So the first time or the initial reaction you have when you're in a stressful situation or when your anxiety starts to increase, that's what your threat system is. And then you have the drive system. So the drive system is once your mind kind of tells your body that, okay, we're safe, we're good to go, the next emotional state is the drive state. So this is the thing that motivates you. This is the goals you have, the things that motivate you to move forward into the next kind of state. And then the last and final state is the soothing state. So this is the state that keeps us calm and safe. And this is what also connects us to people as well, is that soothing, calming mindfulness state. So with most things in our lives, balance is important. So imagine that you have a stool and you have three legs of the stool, and each leg is one of those components. So the drive, threat, and soothing. So say your threat leg of the stool is much longer than the other legs. Now the stool is completely off balance, which causes issues, and for unbalance, you would fall. So the goal is you want to have each state emotionally balanced. So by focusing on each individual key component, hopefully you'll be able to keep things in balance. Does that kind of make sense? Any questions about that?
Yeah.
Okay. So next, in order to really understand what we're working towards, is our goal, the broad goal of what compassion-focused therapy is, working towards a more compassionate self. So if you're unbalanced and say your threat level is way higher than your other levels, this is when you start to feel those feelings of anxiety, depression, anger, or things like that, where it starts to become uncontrollable and out of whack. So in order to work towards balancing those systems, CFT, what our focus is to work on a more compassionate self. So rather than criticizing yourself or self-shame or anything like that, we're working towards being kinder to ourselves, being more compassionate, especially with certain problems, recognizing that feeling shame about those problems, that won't benefit you and get you to where you want to be in the end goal. So in order to understand what a compassionate self is, we have to know what compassion is. when you think of compassion, either yourself being compassionate or maybe somebody being compassionate towards you, what attributes do you kind of think of? What comes to mind?
Kindness, listening, being and just being there for somebody is compassionate, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are all definitely attributes of compassion. Just caring for somebody else's well-being, the non-judgment component as well, sympathy, sensitivity. And a lot of those attributes, a lot of people think that those attributes always have to be towards others. So we think, well, we have to be sensitive towards others. We have to be empathetic or sympathetic towards other people. And we forget that we should also be doing that towards ourselves, being compassionate towards ourselves and being non-judgmental to ourselves. So that's kind of the key behind what compassion-focused therapy is. So now what I want us to do is kind of step into the more, some exercises here to kind of help us get into that mindfulness state, that compassionate self, and working towards that goal. Is there any problem recently that maybe you've been experiencing that have been leading to a feeling of shame or self-criticism? Anything in particular?
Yeah, I think it's been depression, a lot of anxiety and depression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with depression, do you feel like maybe you feel shame about being depressed, or maybe criticize yourself for those emotions that you feel, or maybe you're not how you used to be, or do you feel that kind of shame?
Yeah. No,
yourself?
definitely. Yeah, no, I feel ashamed that I can't get out of the depression. Like I feel I'm stuck.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what you're saying is you're kind of stuck in this alternate mind space that maybe you weren't in before. And it can definitely feel hard to get out of that space. So what I want us to do, and another portion of CFT is that it's a very collaborative experience. So a lot of times therapists will do the exercises with the client, just because it's good for everybody to be in a compassionate mind state. So what I'm going to have us do is it's called soothing rhythm breathing. And what's nice about this is you can really do it anywhere. And the most important thing to remember about this exercise is it doesn't matter if you do it right or wrong. There is no right or wrong for it. The whole focus is that we're being compassionate towards ourselves. So even if your mind wanders or maybe your breathing gets kind of funky, that's absolutely totally fine. And it's normal. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit comfortably with both feet flat on the floor, kind of shoulder width apart. You're going to have your hands kind of just relaxed, whatever feels comfortable to you. You can close your eyes if you prefer, or you can kind of look down on the floor, whatever is more comfortable for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to clear our minds. We're going to focus on our breathing, and whatever pace your breathing is at, just focus on that pace. So try and find a rhythm. So this could be, breathing in for 3 seconds, hold, exhale for 3 seconds. And we'll do it for just a few seconds here, just to kind of get a feel for it. And then you're going to open up your eyes and you're going to come back to the reality. So we'll go ahead and start that. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and breathe in and find that rhythm with your exhale. And then whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and come back. Awesome. So during that exercise, and normally you can do it for any amount of time. Did you notice your mind wandering at all? Maybe distractions, or you heard a noise, or maybe you had thoughts of, is this really going to work, or any kind of wandering thoughts or anything?
I did at the beginning, and then once I started having to focus on my breathing, I didn't have time. I couldn't clear my mind I could only focus on the breathing at that point. So I didn't hear anything else around.
Awesome. That's awesome. And that was really quick. So it was nice that you were able to do that so quickly. So as I mentioned before, we're working on just being compassionate towards ourselves. So for me, I found myself kind of the same thing as you. I found myself wandering, just I had, a thought of, okay, wait, maybe I did it wrong. Oh, wait, no, that I messed up that breath, or I should have exhaled. I exhaled too early, or something like that. And so the purpose is not to force yourself on the breathing. There are breathing techniques where you focus on, you count to 5 and you exhale to 5, and it's very repetitive and it's very organized how that is. The key here is however you choose to have your pattern is fine. And what you want to do is you're really actually listening to your mind. And your mind is telling you when to breathe, when to exhale. And then when you feel yourself starting to wander, the goal for the compassionate mind is that gently and kindly you bring your attention back to the breathing, which you kind of mentioned you were doing. Is as soon as you start feeling yourself wander a little bit, you brought the attention back to your breathing. And that's the key there, is that when you have those, criticizing thoughts or those self-shame thoughts, rather than focusing so much on the thought itself, bringing yourself back and reminding yourself of the gentleness and the kindness. And that can be words of affirmation. That could really just be finding a place of peace, finding a safe place where you can kind of stop those thoughts, bring yourself back to reality, and then you can kind of move forward into a compassionate state. Another exercise, which we won't do here, but is really beneficial, is compassionate letter writing. So what you do essentially is you write a letter to yourself. And it could be, pretty much the goal is you write down everything you're feeling and you address it, I am blah, blah, blah. I feel like I let people down when I'm depressed, but that is absolutely okay. It's normal to feel that way, and we're going to get through it. Things like that, just to kind of put some reality into those feelings and those emotions. And just, again, to remind yourself that you're only human, and part of our evolutionary nature is that you are going to have those thoughts. But the other part of the evolutionary nature is that we have it in ourselves to be able to self-soothe. And that's the key, is finding ways to self-soothe ourselves so that we're not constantly living in a state of distress. Any questions or anything? That's kind of all the time we have. And normally it would be a longer session, but it's in 10 to 15 minutes, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I can see how that can really be helpful. I'll practice it. I'll practice it daily. I think that's,
Awesome.
Thank you for the tips.
Yeah, well, thank you
good.
for joining with me and helping me role play this video. And yeah, I'll send over like links and stuff for some helpful resources as well.